Jacob's earliest memories were filled with the scent of incense and the soft glow of candlelight in the old church where his father preached every Sunday. The reverent hush of the congregation, the solemnity of the rituals, and the unwavering faith that filled the air were as much a part of his childhood as the toys in his room or the games in the backyard. His father, Pastor Michael, was a kind and passionate man whose love for God and his family seemed boundless. Jacob admired him deeply, not just for his wisdom and compassion, but for the certainty with which he held his beliefs. For many years, Jacob followed in his father's footsteps. He recited prayers, attended Sunday school, and participated in church activities with the other children. His father's stories from the Bible painted a world full of miracles and divine justice, and Jacob accepted them as unquestioningly as he did the existence of the sun and the moon. It was a world where faith provided answers, where every question had a predetermined answer, rooted in the sacred texts. As Jacob grew older, however, his natural curiosity began to stretch beyond the confines of his religious upbringing. He devoured books on history, biology, astronomy, and physics, each one igniting a new spark of wonder in his mind. The scientific method, with its reliance on observation, experimentation, and evidence, fascinated him. It was a stark contrast to the certainty of faith that had dominated his early years. The more he learned, the more questions he had, and the more he realized that many of those questions couldn't be answered by the Bible alone. By the time Jacob reached high school, his burgeoning passion for science had grown into a full-fledged rebellion against the religious dogma he had been raised with. He began to question the teachings of the church more openly, much to the dismay of his parents. Pastor Michael tried to bridge the growing gap between them, encouraging Jacob to see the harmony between science and religion. But Jacob was no longer content with such compromises. "Dad, how can you say that science and religion are compatible?" Jacob would argue at the dinner table, his voice tinged with frustration. "The church teaches that the earth is only a few thousand years old, but science proves it's billions of years old. How can you reconcile that?" His father would sigh, a pained look in his eyes. "Faith isn't about proving or disproving, Jacob. It's about believing in something greater than ourselves. Science answers the how, but faith answers the why." But Jacob was not convinced. He began to challenge his peers and teachers, pointing out inconsistencies and contradictions in religious teachings with the zeal of a young revolutionary. He joined the school's debate club and often took on topics related to science and religion, arguing passionately in favor of empiricism and rational thought. His arguments were logical and well-reasoned, but they often left him feeling isolated. The more he fought against the tide of belief around him, the more he felt like an outsider. One day, during a particularly heated debate in the school courtyard, Jacob confronted Sarah, a devout Christian and one of his closest friends. "How can you believe in something that has no evidence?" he demanded. "How can you base your life on stories that contradict everything we know about the world?" Sarah looked at him with a mix of sadness and resolve. "Jacob, faith isn't about evidence. It's about hope and love and community. It's about finding meaning in something beyond ourselves. Just because you can't see it or measure it doesn't mean it's not real." Her words struck a chord in Jacob, but he wasn't ready to back down. "But isn't it dangerous to believe in something without questioning it? Doesn't that blind you to the truth?" Sarah shook her head. "Maybe, but isn't it also dangerous to dismiss something just because you can't understand it?" Their conversation lingered in Jacob's mind for weeks. He began to realize that his crusade against religion was causing more harm than good. He saw the pain in his parents' eyes, the frustration in his friends' faces, and the growing divide between him and the people he cared about. He started to understand that faith, for many, was not just about belief in the unprovable, but about finding solace and meaning in a chaotic world. Jacob's passion for science did not wane, but his approach began to change. He no longer felt the need to argue or convert others to his way of thinking. Instead, he focused on his studies, pouring his energy into understanding the universe and its mysteries. He found mentors who shared his curiosity and encouraged his intellectual growth, helping him see that science and compassion could coexist. In college, Jacob pursued a degree in astrophysics. The vastness of the cosmos and the elegance of its laws filled him with a sense of awe that was not so different from the reverence he once felt in church. He immersed himself in research, working late into the night to unravel the secrets of distant stars and galaxies. His work brought him joy and fulfillment, and he began to see that his journey was not about disproving others' beliefs, but about seeking his own truth. Years later, Jacob stood in front of a classroom of eager students, now a professor at a renowned university. He taught them about the wonders of the universe, the beauty of scientific discovery, and the importance of critical thinking. But he also taught them about respect, empathy, and the value of different perspectives. He encouraged his students to question everything, including their own beliefs, but also to approach those with differing views with kindness and understanding. One day, after a particularly engaging lecture on the Big Bang Theory, a student approached him. "Professor Jacob, do you believe in God?" Jacob smiled, thinking of the long journey that had brought him here. "I believe in the power of science to uncover the truths of our universe," he said, "and I believe in the importance of letting people find their own paths to understanding. What matters most is that we remain open to learning and compassionate towards each other, no matter where our beliefs may lead us." In the end, Jacob realized that his quest for knowledge and his respect for others' beliefs were not mutually exclusive. He continued to explore the mysteries of the cosmos, driven by a profound sense of wonder, while also honoring the diverse ways people sought meaning in their lives. It was a balance he had finally found peace with, embracing the complexity of both the universe and the human heart.